Howdy lovelies, how are you all doing? Welcome back to our crafting, where we learn, grow and craft together. In today's random craft session, we are going to use packaging material and change those into vintage postcards. So grab some packaging material. I've got a few that already look like postcards, but I want to just take the gloss away and I'll show you what I'll do with those. Let's get started. So I'm using some Vintage or Distress Collage Medium Vintage. I took off the wrap that I use. I'll just dip in my brush and just use that up. So packaging material normally have this very shiny surface. I would love to use it, but that is a little bit too much. So here I've got those postcards, but on the other hand it's got that. Now I would rather have this the other way around, because this is the postage stamp, the address and whatever was in. This is the normal one, so I will be covering this with a picture. I just want to add the Vintage Collage Medium on that. Now this you can actually see where these come from, so I will be trimming this down a little bit. These ones are fine. That we can also turn into a postcard once that is got that full vintagey look. This is a very big one. For today I will skip this, maybe just add the collage medium to it and get the others sorted. I just want to fold this over for the moment. All this is going to be very risky because this can slide at any point. Now I just want to cut that off. Make sure that telltale. And I'm sorry, but I'm cutting that butterfly off. Let's see. Let's close this so that it doesn't cause any havoc. So a thin layer of collage matte medium, vintage actually, just so that we can get this color going. And of course, take the shine away. So I'm going to give it a light. There's some pieces from earlier. I'm using the Distress brushes, but this is the smallest one. See how that just enhances that vintage look. And just a little bit there too. Might still collage on this. It might be turned into a journal topper or a cover. We don't know yet. But I just want to add the collage medium. Remember, paper has got no memory, so once this is dry, it should be fine. Just a little bit more there. I believe this has been discontinued, but you can add antique linen re-inker to collage or Distress Collage Medium Matte, and it will give you the same effect. And there's a piece of brush sitting on there, which I don't want. Let's do that. And we can put this one side and it can dry in peace. So next time that I want to use it. Now let's start with the little ones. These are really awesome. They can be easily turned into journal cards. I love the background, but I don't like the shine. And that's why I'm adding Distress Collage Medium Vintage to this. Thin layers. The back will probably be added with normal paper or whatever I desire to put at the end. Can't say at this point. I'm just doing the top layer of this. And while I've got the collage medium out. And see, it sticks down. So just be careful. I now want to do the same with this. We can just wipe this down a little bit if you want to. Same thing. This is just to get that age look and to take the sheen away. You could have easily added some vintage photo or antique linen inks to this, but I wanted to try the Vintage Collage Medium. There we have that one. This can truly just dry. Next one, don't know yet which we will be using. And now for these ones, I'm not worried about the back because I will be changing that altogether. So they already have the look of postage and addresses, message, all of that. So it's the front of the postcard that needs to be decorated. And for that, I don't need to add the collage medium. Not yet, because this can also be used as a glue. But I just want to get that sheen away and add to the vintage look. And of course, this can wash out before it is completely dry. And that's why I do all of these ones at the same time, so that I can wash the brush once done. Maybe a little bit more. Soon enough it will dry. We've got a few more. I'm sure you could have done something similar with normal PVA glue and a bit of acrylic paint, just a small dash. It's all just to get the sheen away. And to get that vintage distressed look. 2 to go. I just simply love the fronts of these postcards. Some of them do say postcards. Oh, this looks like letter, sorry. But we will fix the background. Or maybe do 1 or 2 just to give you an idea. And then when I want to use this in future projects, I can then alter the rest of them. And that's the last one. So while these dry for a moment or so, I'm just wanting to wash this out. I'm going to add my little wrap again. Push that in there to minimize the air going into the container. Yes, saran wrap would probably work better. And I just close it up. As always, there's no clear picture in my mind of what I want to do, but I do want to add a few things, maybe stickers, I don't know yet. Let's see. The collage medium actually dries very quickly, but before you use your things, just make sure that you actually dried it properly, because if you put it on top of each other, it will be glued down. Now for these ones, I want to add some paper. I'll put the postage or the postcards to one side. And for these ones, I'm just going to add some paper. So I'm going to do it this way. Glue stick. And I'm adding glue to the card. Once that is dry, I will then round the corners, and these will be beautiful journal cards. Just make sure you've got glue right to the very end so that the edges can also be glued and stick well down. You can see the color of this now. It's much better than it was before, and it doesn't have that terrible sheen to it anymore. This one had a bit of Vintage Collage Medium to the back, but it's okay. It's going to be good. Nobody will be none the wiser. And going to put that right next to each other on there. Again, just burnish it. Make sure it is gluing down very well. And let's trim it. Remember, I keep these to stamp sentiments on. Having this lined up like this just triggered a thought. You could even use this as the cover of a very tiny journal or a little folio as well. So I'll just put this one side. Let me just trim that. There we go. And that goes into its designated spot for when I'm doing sentiment stamping again. So this one needs to be cut. You can use your box cutter, put it in there and just use that to cut. Now there might be a little piece that we have to trim, which is just like a hair width, and this one the same there. There we have that done. Now corners, let's round the corners. Do I want the big one or do I want the medium one? I think the medium one. You can add anything on here. I'm not going to do that today, but it's ready to go whenever I want to then create. They are backed, so you can do anything on the back of these cards. And they already got that vintage look. If you go ahead and you ink the edges, it will darken because you already have that vintage collage medium on there. And the ends will be beautifully browned, not as white as it is right now. You can barely see it, but the difference is visible when you look at it this close. So doing this one too, just to get that white core away. You can go darker. You can even ink the edges with black if you so wish. Right, so these ones are ready. I will see if we have more time to do something with that. These ones are dry. Please don't touch them on top while the collage medium is still drying. You will have fingerprints on your project. So there we have that one. I love the bit of color there. There might be lighter spots. Just run your ink blending tool over that just to intensify that look. Slight change, but a world of difference. So we now have to do something here. I'm going to cover this with paper. I've got some thin cardstock right next to me that I will be using for that purpose. So I'm going to add glue to this part. Doesn't matter which way it will be. We will ink it up and change the look of this all together. Remember, so this is the front, as I'm wanting to use that part as the back already. So lining this up, getting as close as possible to the edge. You have a bit of leeway. Again, get your little gift card, credit card, bank card, in my case access card. We're going to trim this off. I don't throw these pieces away. I will be using that as banking for the next project. So I just simply put that to one side, and this strip will be used for sentiment stamping, which you can also ink, color any which way you want. So there we have that funky part of that gone. I just added a bit of the vintage collage medium that's on my fingers to the back. Let's get another piece for this one, and we'll go through the same process. Inking. putting glue on the back of this and making sure that there is glue all over so that we can actually stick this down well. Again, doesn't matter which way you hold it. Just make sure your corners are flush. You've got a minute or so to get that sorted. Again, trimming this off while the glue is still drying. Will be used later for the same thing. Keep this little part to back another project. All right, so we're making progress. Both of these are now backed with white paper, and no, we don't necessarily want it like this, so I'm going to get my antique linen. Where is that? This side. So this will be the front of it. We must just remember which way to hold it. Now there's a little bit of a mark there where I've touched it. Let's see if we can actually remove it with an eraser. There we go. It actually does remove it. Let's try with this one. Wonderful. Just a normal eraser, pencil eraser. It helps sometimes. Just taking the white away, has a more aged look. So I'm using antique linen in Distress Oxide. And yes, I am directly taking my foam applicator and putting it onto my project as it is a dome shape. There we have that one. Just wanting to make sure that I keep this upright. The next one, same thing. Now you could have used some ink smushing. I showed you in, I think it was session number 7 of the What's in the Basket series, how to do ink smushing, where you press your ink pad to a silicone mat or a laminated sheet or some packaging material and spritz water on it, and then dip your project in there till you're satisfied with the look. You can start off with lighter colors and then add more darker colors. And no, it doesn't have to be just vintage. It can be any project. It can be even brights, some happy colors. There we have that. I don't want even coloring. I do want that the darker bits in. There we have that one. So that way too. So now let's see. This is vintage, so we can have maybe, I really don't know. I don't have an idea yet for this. I'm going to use this one set, which is the Attic Treasures, just because I have it next to me. So I'm going to get this. Dab the stamp pad to your stamp. If you smear it, you will take off some of the ink, making sure that it is inked up well. Going to add this to one side, vintage photo. And just pressing ever so lightly. And lift without dropping it. Now for this, I want to use this stamp here, but I want to use one stamp block and then ground espresso, which is very dark, near black. And I'm going to stamp this over here. Yeah, I've got it right. For a moment there, I was like, uh-oh, maybe I got it upside down. That would be an issue. Then I had to camouflage this text stamp somehow. There we have that one. All right, coming on nicely, coming on nicely. So for this one, again, the stamp block, some vintage photo. Just grab some packaging material. Do I have a small one? Apparently not. Just there. Great. Again, ground espresso, and I'm going to add this right next to that previous stamp. Right. I want to look for something that I can add. I'll use the sticker. I'm using this one because the end already got damaged, so I want to make use of that. And now to get this backing off, yes, a pin would have been wonderful to get this off here. You can just easily lift the edge that way. It will sometimes take forever to get these stickers off. If you had a pin, it goes so much quicker, much quicker. Just pull it off the backing, and I want to add this one there. Going to use my access card and just burnish that sticker well. And I think this one is done, just to ink the edges. I'm going to use vintage photo for this. There we have that. Now it's got a bit of a wobble in it, but paper has got no memory, so we can just flatten that out. I think the one is done. I just want to add maybe these little butterflies. And there we have that one. Perfect. So one is done. Now let's look at the other one. What can we add there? Let's see. Maybe the professor. Something steampunky. The professor would fit quite nicely on here. It's a very big stamp. Right. I'm going to just add this. Just making sure. Upright, like so. Trying to decide which way I want it. Okay. Going to stamp it here, on there. Not the straightest of stamps, because I did not line it up well. And we've got this one. So, now vintage. I think vintage photo. I'm not going to. I need the face. Let's see more or less the length of this to there. And I just made an imprint on my postcard. I want more detail on the so just a little bit to that side. Going to just put this down and then turn it so that I can see what I'm doing. A bit of CPR there. just so that I can get it in. I do have a bigger stamping block that I could have used. And lift that. So there we have the professor. Get him back up there. And now some of that wonderful other stamps so that we can have a finished thing here. What else do we want? Let me just see. What else do I have here on my workbench? Let's use the stamp set again. I think this one at the bottom will look perfect. Some of this I haven't even used before. Stamp block. And I think ground espresso. That's a lovely imprint. Now, something here, rusty hinge.